Welcome to my shop. My name is Guy, and this is the second video of making a floating Demilune table. Last time I made this curved apron, and I'll leave a link in the corner so you can catch up. This time I'm going to make this top. It has a walnut crotch veneer and a sunburst pattern and a solid tiger maple border. Let's get to work. For the substrate for the top, I'm going to be using MDF. It's very flat, it's very stable, and it's great for a project like this. Now I've got the segments laid out, and they're numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. There's a reason for this. Now these pieces will be book matched like this. These will be book matched like this, and these will be book matched like this. And when you're working with a flitch of veneer, it's very important to get the book matching correct on these edges. So doing it this way ensures that. So I've got like 1 up, 2 down, 3 down, 4 up, 5 up, 6 down. It's just a matter of going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, depending on how many segments you have, and then making sure that you have an up and down segment next to each other on each edge. So with that said, let's take a look at the veneer and how I'm going to figure out the pattern for this. This is the veneer I purchased for this project. I've got 6 sheets of this, and it's a nice walnut crotch. Now to figure out exactly how this is all going to look, I'm going to take a mirror. It's very hard for you to see in the camera here. I'm going to do the best I can, but I just want to put this at about a 30-degree angle so I get 6 segments for a half, and then just move it around on this piece until I get the pattern I desire. I can go really busy or not real busy, just a little bit in there, and I've just got to move it around till I decide what I want it to look like. Again, hard to see in the camera, but I'm going to pick out a pattern and then you'll see it when it's done. Well, I've renumbered these pieces since I cut the number off the bottom before, and I've used this pattern to redo the lines here. Now this is a 30-degree cut on this, and I put some sandpaper on the back so it doesn't move around while I'm using it, and I've got this extra piece right here so it's easier to butt my veneer saw up against it. So I've marked out the pattern. Now on this side right here, I'm always going to be cutting on the right hand side, so I had to make another line back here that mirrors that so I can cut this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this like this from the back. Now with that side cut, I can flip these over and cut the other side. But first I want to take numbers 5 and 6 and remove those from the stack, because I'm not going to cut those quite yet because I want to keep them long. I've got all the pieces cut, and excuse me, my neighbor decided to mow their lawn right now, but I'm not going to stop for that. So again, I'm just going to follow this pattern and put these pieces down. So 1 up, 2 down, 3 down, 4 up, 5 up, 6 down. Now you have an idea what this pattern looks like, and we're going to tape it together. Well, I've got the first pieces down here, and I need to seam them together. I'm looking at it, and it's pretty tight, except right here at the top. It opens up a little bit. So I need to joint these edges. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, hang it off the end of the form, take this to hold it down. I just want a little bit of that edge exposed over the edge of the form. Now I've got this, and it's just a beam. It's made out of walnut, and I've got a flat perpendicular faces here, and I've got some 150 grit sandpaper. I just want to hold this down and slowly remove material. So after a couple minutes with the beam, I'm left with this, and I've got a nice seam that just basically disappears. Now before I tape these together, I'm going to go around the rest of the piece and get all these jointed just like that. I've got all the pieces done and I'm very satisfied with the seams on here. So I've kind of flipped the whole thing over. Instead of 1 up, 2 down, I'm 2 up, 1 down, and so forth and so on, because this is going to be the piece you don't see. So I'm just going to line everything all up, make sure my point is tight at the corner, and these match up top. And I'm going to take some blue tape, get those nice and tight in one spot, and put my finger down and stretch it across like that, and I'll go up the rest of the piece this way. I have everything all taped up on the bottom. Let's flip it over. There, that's nice. This is what's going to be the top. I need to get rid of some of this excess here and then start working on getting veneer tape on the rest of these seams. I'm ready to glue the veneer to the substrate, and I've also prepared a backer piece. Now you have to have veneer on both sides of the substrate. So I just have this walnut that I'm going to use as the backer piece, and I'm going to be using urea resin glue for this. I'm going to put the top on next, and to make sure everything lines up, especially here, I've drilled a little hole and I've got a nail, and I also put a hole in here so that when I'm ready to put this down, I can line it up to that hole, because that's going to be the mark where I put the circle cutting jig to cut this out. So I also want to take a moment here and trace this out so I don't get glue everywhere, just pretty much where I need it. Well, I've got this on the substrate. I really want to check to make sure, especially here where all those corners meet, all the points meet, that all these seams are nice and flat, because I don't want them doubling up on me. Now that I've got that done, I can put this in the vacuum bag. I'm also going to put a caul over the top of it to make sure it lays flat. All right, I just need to close the bag up and start the pump. Well, the pump is evacuated and it's up to 25 inches of mercury. That means there's about 12.5 pounds per square inch on this piece. So there's probably a couple tons of pressure on here. It's very even. It should give you a nice flat top. I'm going to leave it in the bag here for about 4 to 5 hours or so and then take it out. Well, looks good so far. Nice. So I'm just going to let this continue to cure overnight, and then tomorrow we'll get the tape off there. Well, I've taken the piece out of the clamps and everything came together really, really nice. I'm very happy with it. I've got it screwed down to this jig. Now what this jig is, it's a piece of plywood with a hole drilled in it, and I've secured the border to the jig, and I've also got an extra piece down here to raise this trammel arm for my router above the table at the same height as this. So I'm going to go around here, I'm going to make a 1/16 of an inch deep cut, and I'm going to cut it at a climb cut to make sure I don't get a real frazzled edge out here. And then I'm going to continue down in a clockwise, or excuse me, a counterclockwise fashion until I get all the way through. Well, I've got this inside curve cut on the border. Now I need to cut the top. So when I was cutting before, I was cutting on the portion of the bit that was furthest from this. Now I need to cut on the part of the bit that's closest to this. So in order to do that, I'm just going to move the bit out 1/4 of an inch, and then this curve here will match this curve here. Now that I've moved the bit out 1/4 inch that way, I'm just going to make that same 1/16 inch climb cut and then continue cutting around until I free the tabletop from the excess. Well, I've released the excess from the top and I've cleaned all the MDF dust up, and this is what I'm left with, and this is the border, and it's perfect. All the sizing is dried on the edge of this, and I've given it a very light sanding. I've attached it back to this template mainly because I know I can keep it flat, and plus I want to move it after I glue it up. And I'm going to be using hide glue, and I'm just going to put some on the outer ring, put this around here, and then cinch it closed with a band clamp. We've got this all clamped down. I should mention that I put some wax on this so it won't stick to it afterwards. But this is also going to make sure everything is nice and flat. I've got the outside rim cut, and I just need to disassemble all this. I've got the top off the jig, and boy, this came out really nice. I really like the way this looks.